What brings us all here? It's a serious question. A commitment to something?
All right, what I want to talk about on this podcast, I want to kind of go over everything that the Democrats, the current Democratic Party, which I think has been infiltrated by communists and socialists, but at least by the Chinese Communist Party. But I think where this all began is when they took prayer, they took God. They can't take him out of our heart, but they took prayer out of school. They took the Pledge of Allegiance. So that's where we're going to.
My fellow Americans, from the early days of the colonies, prayer in school was practiced and revered as an important tradition. Indeed, for nearly 200 years of our nation's history, it was considered a natural expression of our religious freedom. But in 1962, the Supreme Court handed down a controversial decision prohibiting prayer in public schools. Sometimes I can't help but feel the First Amendment is being turned on its head. Because ask yourselves, can it really be true that the First Amendment can permit Nazis and Ku Klux Klansmen to march on public property, advocate the extermination of people of the Jewish faith and the subjugation of blacks, while the same amendment forbids our children from saying a prayer in school? When a group of students at the Guilderland High School in Albany, New York, sought to use an empty classroom for voluntary prayer meetings, the Second Circuit of Appeals said no. The court thought it might be dangerous because students might be coerced into praying if they saw the football captain or student body president participating in prayer meetings. Then there was the case of the kindergarten class reciting a verse before their milk and cookies. They said, "We thank you for the flowers so sweet. We thank you for the food we eat. We thank you for the birds that sing. We thank you, God, for everything." But a federal court of appeals ordered them to stop. They were supposedly violating the Constitution of the United States. Teddy Roosevelt told us, "The American people are slow to wrath, but when their wrath is once kindled, it burns like a consuming flame."
I would, in fact, make sure that we immediately surge.
So we went straight from Reagan to Biden, telling everybody to swamp the borders. And then after that, we'll see what effect that had on us. Also, they could have their way and change the structure of America, because I feel like they know they're losing that. And with the deep state, what used to be a theory is now coming to light. And it's really all about money and the sickness that comes with it, the greed.
We immediately surge to the border. All those people are seeking asylum. They deserve to be heard. That's who we are.
Alien has now been charged with murder after allegedly, beheading his 50-year-old boss and stabbing him multiple times. But the suspect shouldn't have even been allowed to walk free. He has a lengthy criminal history, including sexual contact with a child, and was previously in ICE custody before he was released by the Biden administration.
That my son was gone.
It was about a week and a half after Brandon was killed that I realized it was an illegal alien who had killed him. And I started researching and found out that this was a repeat illegal alien criminal who had been shown leniency by our court system. Why are judges showing leniency to illegal aliens for a crime if I had committed, I'd be in jail or prison for?
My daughter, Sarah Root, was killed by an illegal alien named Edwin Mejia on her way home when she was stopped at a stoplight on 33rd and L in Omaha, Nebraska. She was rear-ended by Edwin Mejia going 70 plus miles an hour. My daughter was a beautiful, her smile lit up a room, the most caring, love.
He doesn't talk about the American families permanently separated from their loved ones because Democrat policies release violent criminals into our communities.
So with that being said, you see all kind of political judges, which shouldn't even be a thing, showing leniency on these illegal aliens. They opened the borders and let millions over. Some of these included terrorists, Muslims, which is now a problem in our country. What did they think would happen? We spent all these years at war in these countries, and then we opened the border and let them come in. They wanted to destroy Western civilization because we've spent years in war with them. Did the Democrats just think that they would forget? I don't know, man. The Democratic Party right now is one of our worst enemies. I'm not saying we need to be a one-party country, but we definitely need to restructure. Mostly Democrats, but there's people in the Republican Party that need to be outed per se as well. We need to have ethics again. We need to have a conscience, not just blind rage or blindly serving the devil. Need to know who we're serving.
We need safety.
On his first day in office, President Biden issued an executive order rescinding Trump-era travel restrictions on majority Muslim and African countries, known as the Muslim travel bans. Immigration.
That is, we have caught the Biden administration in, quote, the horse is out of the barn. Unfortunately, the horse that's out of the barn are two terrorists from Yemen that came in through our southern border. You'll remember there was a press release put up on the website of DHS and other entities, including Customs and Border Patrol, that talked about the fact that two Yemeni individuals on the terrorism watch list were picked up at the southern border. What is so critical?
Now, like I said, I can't get all of these instances on one podcast, but research it. If mainstream media hadn't already deleted it or whitewashed it or bleached it like Hillary Clinton did with her files, that's another thing. If we had done something like that, we'd be in jail for the rest of our life when she deleted all those files. That's crazy, man. Next, we're going to talk about all the Muslims that's coming over here. Oh, yeah. We have had so many illegals. I mean, they're raping, murdering. Most families, maybe not directly, but down the line have been affected by this. My family has. The raping, the murdering, all that. is just unreal. And you know what? I blame the Democrat Party.
The city of Hamtramck puts a new face on representative government in America. For a century, it was a Polish-American enclave in Michigan, surrounded by the city of Detroit. Now, a wave of new immigrants from Yemen, Bangladesh, Pakistan has eroded the dominance of Warsaw. In
The House Small Business and Foreign Affairs Committees, Claudia Tenney. Congresswoman, welcome.
Thank you.
I also wanted to throw this in there about COVID. We hadn't forgot about that, and how that was a man-made virus from China, to which we have seen and heard many conflicts of interest in our government with China. We even have a Republican that's married to a lady from China, and she's part of the CCP. We've had Democrats giving information to China through their Chinese girlfriends and traitorous things. But this talks a little bit about COVID. I know everybody remembers all the lives that were lost, not just in America, worldwide. Fauci. There was talk of Fauci being tied to Hillary Clinton. We know he idolized her, so he came right out and said that.
What are your concerns as we look back at the government's response to COVID and what we've seen from Dr. Anthony Fauci's emails?
Well, obviously, Dr. Fauci's emails leave a troubling story. It actually asks more questions than are answered. Now we wonder if this virus was actually part of a deliberate effort to create something that was accidentally leaked from the lab, if it got into anywhere into a wet market, so-called, in that region. And now I'm concerned about his backpedaling on a lot of the issues and really just kind of reversing course. I think it's time for Dr. Fauci to retire or be fired from this job. He's led us into a terrible situation.
Inspector and Fox News contributor. He has years of experience working in counterterrorism. He ultimately ran all of the NYPD's intelligence cases. Paul, great to have you with us.
Thank you.
So when you watch this news...
Now I wanted to point out, I mentioned earlier that we've had terrorists over here let through our border, and we've had several attacks on our soldiers, like in Washington, D.C., and Trump. They think now that he's being tracked, probably by Iran. They're saying that the people that are trying to get him know more about the Secret Service detail than the Secret Service does. They're also saying we got terrorist cells over here as well. I wouldn't put it past all these sanctuary cities that the Democrats are running to have them there. But that's what we're talking about on this one.
Conference, and you hear about the men from Tajikistan, you hear about the ISIS affiliates who have sent 400 people across the border. If you were still doing counterintelligence in New York City, what would be concerning you?
All right, well, let's try to advance the story a little bit. First question I would have is, were these 8 Tajiks part of the 400 that you're talking about? Because as he tries to put an air gap between ISIS and the 400, and you can see how he's wordsmithing it, right?
Yes.
He's saying, well, they're not necessarily ISIS-tied, etc. What people don't realize is that terrorist groups need money. There is a profit motive embedded in it. It's like the mafia. They have to make money, but they do it for their operation. operations, not for the profit motive, right? So it's possible that ISIS is just doing some human trafficking here. But think about this now. We have 8 guys who were loose in this country. And here's the nuance. They are being held currently on immigration charges, not on terrorism charges. Now, they picked up something on a wire relative to bombs. I don't know if that's a FISA wire overseas or something, or if it was a domestic wire relative to something criminal. But somebody, it was 3 different field officers, 3 FBI field officers. They had to prematurely say, take them on what we got. Take them on immigration and get them in. We'll see if we can get into the phones. We'll see if we can do a debrief. We'll flip somebody. But that right now, they don't have terrorism charges.
Is reportedly considering making some unacceptable concessions, removing Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard from the list of terrorist organizations, state sponsors of terror. This is the same Revolutionary Guard who just weeks ago took responsibility for the bombing that took place steps away from the U.S. consulate in Iran. The same Revolutionary Guard who in 2015 participated in a plot to bomb a Georgetown restaurant to assassinate the Saudi ambassador to the United States of America. There's no doubt that it's a terrorist organization, and it's insane that the Biden administration would consider removing them from the state sponsor of terror list. Now that's why
the pen. Well, this president had appointed.
I couldn't leave Obama out. He's the root of a lot of this stuff.
Response.
I think it's somewhat ironic to see some members of Congress wanting to make common cause with the hardliners in Iran. It's an unusual coalition.
The surprising.
Did you hear that CNN got bought by Oracle, I believe? That's one of Trump's friends. I cannot wait to see that one cleaned up. See the heads roll.
Move was led by Senator Tom Cotton, who today defended it.
The only thing unprecedented is an American president negotiating a nuclear deal with the world's leading sponsor of state terrorism without submitting it to Congress for approval.
This with them. The Obama deal was the worst deal. Nobody ever saw a deal so stupid. Right now, if you did the Obama deal, if that held, if I didn't terminate it, Iran would have a nuclear weapon, and it would be a whole different ballgame.
The FBI is investigating a deadly shooting at a bar in Austin, Texas over the weekend as a possible terrorist attack. 2 people will.
Iran has already begun retaliation against the United States with a strike against an airbase in Qatar, but there are also fears of potential retaliation on U.S. soil. So what would that look like? According to U.S. intelligence officials, the most likely scenario would be that of the lone wolf, an individual actor acting alone, inspired by online propaganda from the regime. But we have also heard from former U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who gave another scenario, and that is that of the sleeper cell, operatives hidden on U.S. soil waiting to strike. Pompeo may have a very good idea of what he's talking about. The former Secretary of State has been the subject of an Iranian plot to have him killed because when he was secretary, he was part of the decision-making team in the Trump administration that organized the assassination of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani. Hitmen were allegedly hired to stalk Pompeo and other U.S. officials.
So yeah, they're, as I mentioned earlier, they're thinking Iran. You know, Trump's had a hit on him. People tried to kill him like 4 times. Once in the previous administration, 45, but 3 times as of late. Some of those are said to be tied to Iran, and I would be willing to bet that that's who's been following him around. I will say, in this latest scuffle that we're having, they've lasted longer than I thought they would.
Including President Trump, to see if they could be assassinated as retribution. But in terms of sleeper cells, we also have background here in New York City. where the FBI and the New York City Police Department, within the Joint Terrorism Task Force, engaged in a series of cases and prosecutions involving alleged Iranian plots to...
And in the form that it must come is that this empire, the American empire that's been hurting our people since the beginning, the imperial Western powers that have been hurting our people since the beginning, they must fall. And inshallah they will fall. And my message to the people of Gaza and the oppressed peoples across the world is that there are people here, both young and old, who are going to be willing to fight.
Capital of America.
So now we're moving to Muslims that have come over, and now they want to call America their home and see the fall. They don't make no qualms about letting it be known that they want to see the Western world fail and fall. And if you're not going to follow the Quran or Allah, then they would just as soon see you dead. And just so you know, for all you liberal women out there that hate Trump and hate MAGA, your life under Sharia law will definitely be different, because they consider a woman a fourth of a man. You're a second-class citizen. So all you rioters and picketers and people out there showing your stupidity, keep it up. You'll get what you ask for. They don't care nothing about cutting your head off. It's not about freedom of religion. Muslims will not let you exist in a place that they have Sharia law if you're not a Muslim. So that's another thing. They've infiltrated this country and they've caused great division. There's even people paying people to riot and act a fool. I just wonder what goes through those people's head. Do they think it's harmless, what they're doing? They're just there to get a check. Ask the people that are getting shot if it's harmless. Ask the families that are losing their kids if it's harmless.
Dearborn, Michigan. Got the idea that Islam was a religion of violence and not peace.
That one president.
How is it being a Muslim in 2024?
For the younger ones, it is kind of difficult.
Why do you think Dearborn became Dearborn, Michigan?
Preaching is just stupidity.
So you're calling me stupid?
Basically.
Okay.
Basically.
Did I call you stupid?
Now here's some maps. Honestly, I was surprised when I saw Florida eat up with it, man. I know there's a problem in Texas with Abbott. He's taking money from a Pakistani, and he's a Republican. There you go. So these maps tell all. DeSantis, man, what's up? I know I live in Ocala, and just 3 miles down the road there's a mosque. I rarely see anybody there. I'm always looking. But I rarely see anybody there. But look at all that, especially on the East Coast, man. A lot of red up in here.
when our debt climbs by the trillions at this point, fully vet individuals who are entering the United States. How can that, or how does that ultimately lead to fraud?
Countries in which fraud practices are widespread, when those
Now we're going into the fraud. We got fraud in Minnesota with Somalians who Ilhan Omar is one of the biggest fraudsters, I think, and she absolutely hates America, and probably 90% of us dislike her, at least 100% probably, and I'm going to say, because a lot of people don't like to hate. I'm one. If I feel like I'm going to hate you, I need to remove you from my life. So I tuned her out. But I'm sure there's a lot of people that loathe the ground she walks on. But now we're going into the fraud. It's rampant in Ohio, Michigan, Massachusetts, California.
nationals come to our country, it is only logical to believe that in many cases they may continue those practices.
Sanctuary city
point of sanctuary cities is essentially for those jurisdictions to exempt themselves from federal immigration laws that they don't like. I think
for being with us. You've been all over this story. What's the latest out of Minnesota?
Yeah, we heard some pretty shocking numbers today, Will, at that press conference talking about $18 billion paid out through these 14 programs that First Assistant U.S. Attorney Joe Thompson focused on. And he said in his own words today, more than half of that money seems to be fraudulent. And the reporter asked as much as $10 billion, and he quickly said, absolutely. So he detailed just this explosive growth of these programs, focusing on just a few in these last few years. But I'll say that we've been checking out a lot of this for ourselves. Millions of dollars.
Fraud allegations across the state of Ohio are pushing lawmakers into action, introducing bills at the State House to crack down on fraud in publicly funded daycare.
But many of you... $928 million have been stolen. Your money. Do you know where it's gone? Voter registration by leftist groups supporting the Democratic Party. It is an absolute scandal. Just the latest in the amount of money that's been stolen from you. $1 billion, supposed to be for solar panels, only $72 million was spent.
Gavin Newsom, here you are, and we saw what you just said, whether people believe it or not, or, you know, because you got folks on the left trying to defend them, fine. Crime, homelessness, affordability, environment, debt in California, please. You got to convince me, oh, so you want us to let you run the country, but we see what's happening in California. Good luck with that.
Welcome back. That first was California GOP gubernatorial candidate Steve Hilton. He is leading in the polls there, saying his Cal Doge found nearly $1 billion was taken out of a California state program meant for solar panels and was instead blown on Democrat voter registration and to build left-wing activism.
And here in Massachusetts. They also used the stolen identities of 6 juveniles to secure SNAP EBT benefits in Rhode Island and Massachusetts, spending tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars to purchase inventory for a restaurant in Massachusetts.
We keep hearing a lot of things about committees for this, hearings for that. We, the public, don't see any arrests being made, so we're kind of losing faith in our government. But I think a lot of the reason we don't see is the media hides all that. But with CNN being bought out, I think that mainstream media is the news and all that's getting ready to change. At least I hope soon. I'm going to do a deep dive because I hear that some people are being arrested, higher up officials. I want to know about it, and I'm sure y'all do too. So here's some of the Somalians' mug shots.
Sizable voting bloc. It is a voting bloc you have to win if you're going to win political office in Minneapolis. And so I think that was likely a incentive here that made some people not want to look too closely. What's been going on?
Wow.
Tell us what your response is to the Oversight Committee launching an investigation into your net worth, you and your husband.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar avoiding questions about her net worth that has risen astronomically during her time in Congress. President Trump wants answers, writing on
Investigations into Representative Ilhan Omar's finances are gaining attention as show a sharp jump in her reported assets. The change has raised questions about how the money was made and how congressional wealth is reported. The disclosures, filed as part of Congress's annual financial report.
Then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
After the Trump administration releases this ad on the State of the Union. Watch.
If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens. These people are crazy.
All the Democrats had to do was stand up and support American citizens over illegal aliens. They chose to sit down. They admitted to you who they really are. Are you still going to vote for them? What's your take?
A moment of prayer for Charlie Kirk, and then the Democrats decided at that point in time to try to...
Now this is about how, I'm a Christian, so I'm not saying all Christians are conservative. I'm sure that there are some Christians that are Democrat and are misguided, but one of our Christian leaders got shot and killed by Democrat rhetoric, and they pretty much, some of them even said he deserved it. Ilhan Omar. Crazy, man. But this is about that. This is more Democrat BS.
Out that down. First and foremost, Charlie is now pronounced deceased. He was murdered. I don't know anything about the suspect yet. I think everyone's waiting to hear that. But that type of rhetoric is the exact type of rhetoric that got him killed. They did call
famous image of Trump with his fist in the air and the blood rushing down. It's very American.
Yeah.
You look at it, you feel the freedom.
You can hear the bald eagle.
Cast your mind back to July.
Basically, this talks about how Trump they've tried to assassinate him 3 times. And I think we talked about that earlier with Iran and all that. So we're going to bypass this. And next we're going to talk about Epstein. We're also going to talk about, man, they went after his family. They tried to have him impeached. They tried so hard, the Democrats did, to have him put in jail. They tried to set him up. First, before we talk about Epstein, let's talk about Mar-a-Lago and all that nonsense. They pretty much tried to manipulate or weaponize the federal government against him. It was proven that the Russiagate was a hoax. All that. Just a lie. They straight up wasted our tax money on court hearings and everything else. And it was just a straight up made up lie. Democrats did that to you. Your hard-earned money that they take, they just took and threw it around try to manipulate things to suit themselves.
Surprisingly.
In this matter. Second, the department does not take such a decision lightly.
That was former Attorney General Merrick Garland in August 2022 on the Biden Justice Department's raids on Trump's Mar-a-Lago. But now, newly declassified FBI and DOJ emails reveal that FBI agents had warned they did not have probable cause to do that raid. But Biden's DOJ officials pushed forward with it anyway amid pressure from Biden's Justice Department officials. Look who's here. We need to talk to Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett about this one. Greg, when you heard the story, what was your reaction?
Well, you know, I wasn't surprised because the raid on Mar-a-Lago was always a shocking abuse of the law. As I said,
of almost 200 mobile phones belonging to visitors to his infamous pedophile island. The data was so precise, we were able to map the paths of these visitors to within centimeters, including their neighborhoods, buildings of origins, and the paths they took to get to the island. These digital trails document the numerous trips of wealthy and influential individuals seemingly undeterred by Epstein's status as a convicted sex offender. Wired's analysis of the data is ongoing, and it raises profound questions about privacy and surveillance. These red dots on
Now, you may be wondering why I chose to bring in the Epstein. I know we've heard so much about that. There are a lot of Democrats tied in. Bill Clinton. Now, you may think I'm showing favoritism, and I am because I like Trump, but he's been excused. Basically, he didn't do anything. So now they tried to pin him on him. That's why the Democrats wanted it opened, so they could try to get something on Trump.
On the map represents some of the 11,279 coordinates I obtained. They were left exposed online by a location data broker with ties to the Defense Department called Near Intelligence. Between 2016 and Epstein's final arrest in 2019, Near collected data on more than 200 cell phones that visited the island. We don't know why they did that or which client or prospective client of Near decided to query the data in this way to produce the maps. But the maps you'll see in this video show where visitors to Epstein Island spent most of their time. Let's take a step back. You might be wondering, the data collected by Near, and which we at Wired recreated here, indicate the most visited spots on the island. From the main house here with the pool, to the beaches and the large sundial, it's all on display, including the enigmatic Hilltop Temple site over here, which has been the focal point in speculations about Epstein's mysterious activities on the island.
And there you have it, folks. So I've got a list of people 100 people that have been mentioned in Epstein's. I'm going to play that through next. But appreciate you listening. And I know I left some stuff out that Democrats have done. And if you're a Democrat and you vote Democrat and you're ready to repent or turn or rebuild your party, man, I'd be willing to listen to you. But other than that, I got nothing to say. Unless you're coming to me like Stephen A. or there's one official Democrat, there's one that I would listen to. Unless you're coming to me like that, I really got nothing to say to you. I don't even want to be around you. Because if you're supporting the trash that's in there right now, you're supporting the demise of America and the murder and rape of our children, our friends. And I ain't got nothing for you.